And joining us on the broadcast for more on all of that is Saeed Mohammad Marande, professor at Tehran University and political analyst, joining us from Tehran. Professor, Trump has warned Iran of obliteration in the event of war. What do you make of the tone and tenor and the words that have been used by the American president? What's the message you think that he is trying to send out, and how is Iran viewing those statements?
Well, Trump is a person who says many ridiculous things, and Iranians don't take him seriously. The United States, I think, recognizes Iran's defense capabilities. The U.S. most advanced drone, which costs twice as much as an F-35, was downed by an Iranian-made surface-to-air missile when it entered Iranian airspace. And the real reason why the Americans discontinued any attempt to, enter Iranian airspace or carry out attacks on Iran is because they discovered that Iran's defense capabilities are quite impressive. So while Iran has no intention of waging war with the United States, but Iran will defend itself. And the United States knows that if it attacks Iran, the response will be very heavy, and the response will be disproportionate. And the countries that help the United States will also face punishment.
Right, Professor, an Iranian general has warned that firing even one bullet will set fire to the U.S. and its allies. Is Iran adding fuel to that fire?
No, the United States is threatening Iran. The United States is waging economic warfare against Iranians, and the United States has violated Iranian airspace with military drones. So what the Iranians are doing is that they're defending themselves, and they're warning the United States not to think about war. And the reason why the United States did not attack Iran and does not attack Iran is because that it knows that the consequences will be very dangerous for the United States and very painful for the United States and countries like Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. So the Iranians, by showing their seriousness and their capability, they are in fact preventing war.
Okay, so the immediate question that then arises is, what is the Iranian regime likely to do now? What are the next few days going to look like?
Everything depends on what the regime in Washington does. The Iranians have remained within the nuclear deal despite the fact that the regime in Washington has left the deal, despite the fact that the United States is violating the deal. So this is a sign that over the last year, Iran, being the only side that is abiding by the deal, is showing the international community that Iran wants to keep stability. The very fact that the United States violates Iranian airspace shows that it's the United States that is escalating. So everything depends on the regime in Washington. If the regime in Washington wants to escalate, the situation will become more complicated. If the regime in Washington wants to de-escalate, then things will move closer to normal. It is up to the United States.
Okay, so to what extent will these developments and these tensions impact the India-Iran relationship, according to you?
Well, I think India is seeing how the United States is bullying different countries. The United States is bullying India into not purchasing Iranian oil. The United States is bullying India not to purchase Russian weapons. The United States wants all countries to be dependent on the United States so that they can have control. And I think that's an insult to the international community, that's an insult to India, that's an insult to Iran. And I think U.S. behavior calls for stronger relations between countries like Iran and India in order to preserve their interests and to keep stability in this part of the world, especially since countries like Saudi Arabia and the Emirates are completely dependent on the United States, and because they are also not very stable regimes in the long run.
All right, Professor.